So I broke my chisel. I don't know how I broke my chisel. It just broke. I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. Unless you count, me ignoring some common sense rules like you don't chop hard end grain with a wide chisel. Why is that common sense? Well, if you think about it, my normal chisels that I do joinery with, on a 3/4 inch wide board is a 1/4 inch chisel because, you cut the mortise 1/3 the width of the board, standard kind of rules, which means that normally you're cutting mortises that are, 1/4, 3/8, maybe even a 1/2 inch in most furniture for human-sized people. But if you're chopping end grain, the hardest stuff out there, and you're using a very wide board, well, there is more surface area. And more surface area going into the wood means that you have more resistance. And that resistance is not double or triple or quadruple the rate. It's actually exponential the wider it gets. So all the force that would be transferred to this 1/4 inch tip when I bang the back of this chisel, well, it's exponentially getting transferred to the back of this. And if this is not going into the wood is pushing back more, that means more of the power is going into the handle, which means you crack it. But every stupid mistake is a chance for learning, right? So while I replace this handle on this chisel, let's basically discuss chisel handles, the two main different styles and their bastard love child, and see that. Because, handle replacement, I'm a woodworker. It's really easy to do. In fact, I'm a wood turner. I make handles all the time because basically in turning, all you do is you buy the steel. But I gotta admit, I was a little bit of a crybaby because this was my PMV 11 chisel and I've been saving up a set. I bought this one 7-8 years ago and I loved it so much I built me a little chisel stand that would hold a complete set once I saved up enough. And every few years I've been buying another one. I got one more to get. But when you're going for a set, you don't want an oddball handle, do you? So I actually did call up Lee Valley to see if I could just buy a handle because it wasn't on their online site. And funny enough, the customer service rep, they just sent me one free of charge, which was kind of cool. And as you can see, it's simply a socket style handle, which is a lot like all the Lee Nielsen ones and the Stanley original ones and stuff like that. And a lot of woodworkers really like this one because that's all you have to do to make the handle. All you have to do is really get the taper right. And if you're a little bit off, you can put some abrasive on the inside of it and kind of grind it down like that. And people say that these don't stay. Well, if you're working in it, you just kind of bang it and it will stick on there pretty well. I do not like these myself because they do come loose with a little bit of vibration. Some people say that's a good thing because you can have a long handle and a short handle, but I've never seen anybody that actually does that one. I think that's just people talking. I personally don't like it because over time, if you hang these up and you hang it by the handle, which you start getting the wider chisels, you have to hang it by the handle. You'll find these sitting on the ground over time because they just fall out as the wood changes. But that's all that is, right? So all I really would have to do is, turn this taper, and I could hand carve this with facets, all that kind of stuff, or I could do it on a lathe or anything like that. But no, Veritas is a combination of a socket and a tang. It's got a hole on it. And that's kind of like all my turning tools, because this is a handle I did turning, and it has a tang too. But whenever you're using a tang, well, the force, whenever you're hammering on this, the back end of it, well, that's actually wanting to split that fiber out right there. That's why we put a metal ferrule on all those. And as you can see, this does have a metal ferrule on the outside, but this is actually a 3-piece. So you have the ferrule, you have a tang, and then you have the handle all combining to work in symposium. Now, as a wood turner, this style is really easy to make, and I've got several videos on how to do that one as a turner. But even as a non-turner, if you just want to use, you know, an axe or a hand plane or a chisel or a rasp or sandpaper or anything like that, all you really have to do is drill a hole in the board the length of the tang, or actually a little bit shorter, hammer that chisel in there, and then you kind of carve it straight. You carve it, you straighten out whichever way the chisel is going after the fact with your woodworking skills. On the lathe, you have to kind of get it perfectly centered, turn this around, and then you do it after the handle is built. Hand tools, you can do it a little bit differently. I think it's a little bit easier that way. Anyways, first step is going to be remove this handle. So let's just take advantage of the weakness of the wood. I actually did fill that crack up with epoxy because it's going to take a few weeks for that new handle to come in. So there is no crack for it to fit on, so I'm just going to pop that in there and let's kind of exaggerate it. There we go. And as you can see, there's the tang. And it looks like they did epoxy that in, which you can see, you know, they got cut little grooves in the tang throughout that for the epoxy to kind of seat in to make it even harder to take off. So like a lot of times, things in woodworking, a lot of times repairs demand that you make the situation worse. Now the question is, where do we go from here? That is working a little bit. Kind of slow process though. You can see by the gap increasing. So now that I have got it pushed down a little bit, I'm going to try and push the steel ferrule forward, and hopefully the wood will stay there loose, because I'm noticing that this tang has these little shark teeth. So it's designed so that the wood does not want to go down. It can't be pulled out very easily. Voila. And didn't damage that too much. So let's clean off any excess epoxy. Chip out the excess wood in the ferrule if we can. Oh yeah, much easier to come in that way. Just comes out pretty easy. Then it's a matter of grabbing the new chisel. You know, notice that it does have the flats on that one, so we want to get those flats even with that for registration purposes. And since I mushroom one end, I want that to be on bottom. So I'm going to get that somewhat straight. Tap it down lightly. And then we will do this. And I am not going to put epoxy on this simply because I think the designs will hold it more than strong enough. And the hole is slightly smaller than this part right here. It's this size. So it really does want to press this out, but that's why the ferrule was there. So last chance to get it right. I didn't have it right, so a few taps loosen that up. Once I get it right, meaning getting this in line with that. Tap, tap, tap to seat it. And then align the chisel up so it's going to go in the slot correctly. Then it's a matter, bang, bang, bang. Get it all seated. I now have a new chisel. Time to complete the collection. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little tidbit. Maybe learned a few things about chisel handles. But either way, remember, it's always worth the effort to learn, create, share with others. Y'all be safe and have fun.